So we'll call this meeting back to order, and we have Ken Quigley and Art Kruger. And what do you have going this morning, Art?
I want to report on last year's finances at the senior center.
Okay.
But first, he listened to this last year, but we have two financial arrangements at the senior center. First of all, anyone that eats there's a voluntary contribution of $3.25, and that is, we have a box at the door, and they supposed to put, it's a voluntary thing, so we have no idea how much money they contribute, but that money at the end of the meal is counted by the manager down there, and it is immediately taken to the bank and sent to Hayes, and that money then pays for the food and the head cook and a few supplies of various and sundry. Then the St. Francis Senior Center Incorporated owns the building and most of the contents in the building. And therefore, are you 65? You.
I'm sneaking up there, but not yet.
We own the building, and therefore we are responsible for everything that happens in the building.
Sure.
And therefore, this is a report of the expenses that we have to keep. Oh, you need one.
I figured you'd get that.
The expense. Oh. So these are the expenses other than the head cook, wages for the head cook, and the food. And so in the income, you'll see that both the county commissioners and the city council budget $8,000 a year to help keep the senior center functioning. And then after that, we are responsible to come up with, it usually is a figure that expenses, other than the two that I mentioned, usually run around $22,000 to $23,000 a year. So the contributions from the city and the county help a heck of a lot, because there's hardly any other way that we can get money. Now, so in the income, you'll see the $8,000 from each. That we had a couple of, I usually don't publish the donations less than $200, but there's two churches that donated quite a bit of money. And then we had two grants. The one was to pay for our not easy chairs, but they're easier than we had, chairs for the whole dining area with arms on them, because people were pushing down on the tables, we're old people, remember? So that was the 2,000 figure there, 2,800. Then we had a $1,000 grant from the Senior Living Fund and the St. Francis New Generation Fund, but neither one had the $1,000. So the two items together, $829 and $170 totals $1,000. Now, we got some interest. We had a pancake day trying to raise some money. The net that we made on the pancake day was $701. Then we collected the amount shown for rent. We had a soup supper, which was not very well attended this year for some reason. I don't know why, but they had Santa Claus right next door to us, and I think most of the families
Yeah.
were there instead of in the senior center eating soup. And then at the beginning of last year, in our checking account, we ran short of being able to pay the bills in January, so we had to transfer $2,000 out of the special funds to be able to pay the bills. And then we do ask the people if they're able, in addition to the money that they contribute for the meals, to donate $10 a month or whatever they can, so that they can help do that. That's the upkeep fund, and that helps a heck of a lot too. So the income, including those grants, is shown there. Expenses, we had to buy a new washer and dryer, or washer, and we had to do some plumbing in order to make that thing work. And, well, that comes down a little later, but the washer was $618, and I forget the plumbing, it was $300 or $400 that we had to pay for that. Then the Hanson Foundation is the one that donated or had the grant for $2,800 that you see up above that. We paid out $3.70 in a miscommunication between Carol Sloper, the people that she works for, Dane Hanson, and so I overpaid that by that, and she and put the money back into the account. That paid for the dining room chairs. Then we needed a locked, we were required to have kind of a locked file cabinet because we do have files in there that are personal files. And so that was part of the $1,000 grant. And we went to Goodland and to Office Supply and looked some places. And we had to go to Walmart to get some, like we bought the office chair. That's where the money that you notice is, it's divided out in the distribution here. So we got the file cabinet and the stuff that goes with it, and an office chair. And we had two windows that were broke that had blue table, which was not very good. So they fixed the windows, and from that we had $179 left over. And we asked, he asked Ken or Tom Keller whether they wanted that back or what, and he said no, we should apply it to our ice machine went downhill, and we should apply it to that. So that's where we kept the money. Then we had our insurance is $1,400, which is, we are lucky to get insurance because nobody will insure senior centers. They say because of the liability for old people down there walking around and so forth. And we had, 3 years ago, we had a company that canceled us because of 2 hailstorms that all of us had. And so Roxy Neitzel now takes care of it, but it's $1,400. The kitchen help, this is to pay for the extra cook.
Right, we pay for it. The
The head cook,
cook's
the
out of
head
Hayes.
cook is employed actually by the Northwest Kansas area on aging. We pay for the extra cook, and the way that works is that the cook turns in their hours to the Northwest Kansas area on aging in Hayes, and they do all the paperwork as far as the things that have to be taken out of their pay and so forth. And then twice a month, they send me a recap of how our balance is down there, and I have to send them a check to make up for those wages. And so that's what, and that's always a pretty sizable sum for us. Now, it should be a little bit less maybe this year because we're down to one cook instead of partially last year we had two cooks, and this year we are trying to do this with one. The lights and water is a sizable amount. There's a little bit of miscellaneous. There's the pancake day expenses and the phone and some repairs that need to be made, soup supper expenses, and Beverly Wilkening kind of manages down there and keeps track of she counts the money, the voluntary contribution money, and every day she takes that, like I said, over to the bank, and then she is responsible for all of that kind of bookkeeping. So the Northwest Kansas area on aging, she's actually given a small
Through them.
And we voted, to, because it is a small amount and she does quite a bit of work down there, we voted $50 a month to supplement her pay down there, so that's the $600. Then various sundry and supplies. And then the transfer item on the thing is merely a bookkeeping arrangement. We had a checking account at the First National Bank. We had a special funds account at the First National Bank, and we do our checking account at the Bank West. And we thought when we transferred this $2,000, it was ridiculous for us. Actually, in the special funds account that we did have, I usually was trying to put memorials designated for something. Well, we found out that most people don't want to, or they can't specify what their memorial is used for. Mm-hmm. So what we did, we transferred what was left in that special funds to a savings account, and so now we have the two accounts, a checking account, and that's what this next page shows. So that's about the gist of the finances down at the center, and we will really welcome if you would keep the senior center in your minds when you do the budgeting, because
We intend to.
the senior center is important to a lot of people.
Oh, sure it is.
I wish it was important to more, because there's how many seniors are there in the area?
You're the majority now, so.
Well, there's a lot of seniors
Yeah, there are.
around, but they don't, for some reason, we can't figure out why they don't come down. Man, it's $3.25 for a really good, it's a good home-cooked meal. And you get coffee or whatever you want. You go to a restaurant and
Plus being able to just get out and socialize.
yes. So, Ken, do you have anything else?
Any questions?
Well, I don't think so.
It's pretty self-explanatory.
We fully intend to go ahead and keep it as the same, the $8,000 for our half of it,
Good.
if that fits into you guys' plans.
Yes.
I mean, we don't have very much wiggle room anymore, but
No,
if you got desperate, I'm sure we could.
see, this year we came out a little bit better actually at the end of January again this year. If I just was going by our checking account, I would have had to take the money, some more money out of our savings. But
Yeah.
right on the time, you sent the check for 90% of the $8,000, and so I didn't have to transfer any funds. But that's how close we sometimes get to in our checking account. We do have the savings that we can delve into, but who knows? We have a $2,500 deductible on our hail losses, and
There's always something going to come up, whether it be plumbing or electrical or
equipment runs.
building repair.
Yes.
Yeah, you're going to always have that.
We have a bunch of freezers and a big refrigerator down there, and it seems like we always have something going wrong with them.
Yeah.
And so that's hopefully we do have a little backup if we can keep it there.
It helped us a lot this year when we went from 3 cooks down to 2.
Yeah.
That
And they're able to manage the meals okay with just the two of them?
Yeah.
they're getting on okay, yeah.
Good.
So,
Well,
Now, Bird City, you budget for their senior center also, but they don't serve meals. I
Right.
think they have a potluck and,
it's a smaller amount.
yeah, so, but we're one of, I think around 18 meal sites in northwest Kansas that is under the auspices of Northwest Kansas Area on Aging. Most, the dietitian in Hayes makes up the menu for many of them and sends the menu out to them. We have, our head cook has generally made up the menu for the 3 days, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, has to send the menu to Hayes, and there's a dietitian that they employ, and that dietitian then makes sure that we have a balanced meal, and then sends the menu back to us.
Yeah.
So that's,
Well, the way it looks now, services for the aged, the Bird City Senior Center receives $3,400, St. Francis is $8,000, and then we go ahead and put another $3,900 into the Northwest Kansas Council on Aging. So that's our plans for the next budget year.
okay.
very good.
All right.
So, and Ken is president of the board, I'm the treasurer, Irene Hilt is vice president, and Joe Ford is the secretary, secretary. And we do have board meetings. In fact, today is the day for our monthly board meeting down there. And normally we should have a bigger board, but a bigger board than number than we do have with some, just as it is with the Lions Club, churches, whatever. You don't have the people anymore.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
We have I don't know why they set it up in the beginning, they set up we could have 20 board members, but that's really too many.
Yeah.
We got about the right number now, we got about 12 or 10 to 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 20 is way too many, so.
Well, obviously you're managing this thing in the right way, so looks
Well,
like a good
we
go.
appreciate the contributions that the county makes, and so,
Well, we'd love to help more, but
Keep it
you know
up.
how that goes.
and you're invited to come down sometime.
need
All
to.
we ask that you do is call the senior center maybe not by 9:30 the day that you want to eat. And we welcome you to come down and see what happens down there. Now, you look like you're an old man. You're not, you're
Thanks,
not
Art. Most days I feel like an old man, so it fits.
Well, so any questions that you have on any of this?
Nope, your finances all look good, and sounds like you're doing a great job.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
that's it. Thank you
All right,
very
guys.
much for your
Thanks for
time.
coming in.
Now you can go out and stand in the hallway again. There's nobody here now.
I don't know, we've got some big gaps today. Or you take care, don't be out on the ice anymore
I
than you have to.
won't. I learned I gotta go up the elevator. The other day I tried the front stairs and I had to hold on to the sides.
Are your
Yeah.
kids?
I wish there was a rail there, but I guess according to the way it's set up, there is no rail, so.
There used to be one right down the middle.
Betty,
I don't know why they got rid of it. I don't like it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Art, be careful.
You know,
Yeah, I don't know either. Just when they redid them steps.
Well, I thought it had to do something with an historical building or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
anyhow, so three of the family were there, and she just went to the bed and give her a side,
that's a,
and good,
I mean, that's, if you're gonna do it, that's the way
that's
to
a
do
good
it.
way to do it.
Yeah.
But no, my kids are doing fine.
Good. And Richard's over in Missouri,
He's in St. Louis.
St. Louis, okay.
Yeah. Teresa Stearns, Sacramento.
And how are kids?
Good. Megan, she's a PA.
Okay.
Yeah, and she's in Albuquerque, but she got a job. She was asked to apply for it. She's going to Stanford, and they're setting up a transplant crew. So she's there.
And where's that at?
Stanford.
That would be a great opportunity for her. If she closer to Teresa.
Well, that's closer, but it's about 3 hours. So that's close.
Yeah. Good.
So yeah, she's doing fine. Nixon said Patricia was good.
Good.
So,
And the twins?
twins are both in college. They're doing good.
And what, we went to Austria?
Yeah,
Good morning,
last-
Dolores.
Good morning.
Yeah, she
Oh,
went to
I need to apologize to you anyway.
Yeah.
I've
yeah.
tried a couple times to come up and see you, and
Well,
our
you know,
schedules are
it's just been a crazy, yeah.
not. Well, I'm on 3 different committees now, and it seems like time is the thing I have the least of anymore.
I can understand that one. But, yeah, and I felt that I should have called you, but by that time I would get done working and
Yeah.
it was late and gone and
Oh, well,
then
we'll make things work.
with Bob's situation and I've been working in the day doing that customer service instead of doing my job, so working late, but yeah. There's several different things that I needed to visit with you about. Our lease for the meter scale is coming up with Pitney Bowes. And I've looked into, Scott had sent me an email from Copy Bowes Inc. They're kind of a company that they have like Pitney Bowes and they have Data Pack and they service to like 3 different companies that they are qualified dealers to
Just to
lease
the
out the equipment out. Pitney Bowes was great up until about 3-4 years ago, and now I can't get anybody to service us. When our last representative for the area came, and right before he retired, he was excellent. He always was dropping in, calling, checking on us. If we had a problem, he'd be there just pronto. And the new one I met, he came, introduced himself, gave me a card, and I haven't heard from him
I've seen
since.
him,
I've actually been contacted for the last 3 months from somebody in the main company to renew our lease and get a different machine. But I don't feel comfortable with that, just because I'm not sure we're going to get any service once we get that lease signed.
So what's your other options?
So the company that I checked in with, that I guess several counties in the Northwest area do use this service, and I know Colby just signed up with them. They sent a letter with a recommendation from the county treasurer there. So I talked to her last week when I was there at our KCTA meeting, and she really likes the machines. They're a lot different. Of course, technology is changing. They're more than just a postage meter. They're a printer. Anything like that anymore.
So
But
what's the difference in?
But they also have the option that it automatically scales the envelope for you. You don't have that human error of getting the wrong postage on there, so you have cost savings there, because there's times that somebody will go in there and mail a package and forget to hit that clear button. And if someone walks in within that first 15, 20 minutes after they do that, the machine resets itself. But if they walk in there before that resets, they run their envelope through without thinking to look at it, and there's a nice $7 to $9 postage on an envelope. I mean, and then just when we do our bulk mailings, we have a few screw-ups
So the
there.
contract we're under now is an annual thing?
It's a 5-year lease.
5-year, okay.
Yeah. And Pitney Bowes was also. But it also has the capabilities, which the appraisers in our office are going to really like this one. It has the weigh-in motion, which you just put a stack in there. If it's not beyond the letter size, thickness, you can just put a stack in there, and it'll just automatically take it all in. It scales it, prints it, and seals it and spits it out.
Okay.
And it takes a lot of human error out, and it would be a lot faster. And I think, well, even on the twice a month, Sharissa would really appreciate it too.
Well, go
But
ahead and finish your research.
These are Pitney Bowes was offering a $70 machine, which didn't have really, it was more of our basic, but it had some extra features that we don't. Of course, they always got to upgrade to everything. These were fairly expensive. They were $70 for Pitney Bowes, and these are the different 3 options. This is the one, of course, they're recommending, but this is the only one that has that weigh in motion scale. I'm still not sold on it. I really like the idea, but I'm not really sold on it because when I put the figures together for 5 years, what that would end up costing, we could easily buy that machine. But we wouldn't have the rate updates. I don't know how we would do that because they service that anytime the postal service
You'd have to.
does
go
a
to
change.
Some kind of service agreement with them anyway.
Yeah.
And
They'll they service it. Thomas County is very happy with the service they have, and they just hired a gal in Oberlin, so they're even closer now.
And they took this option here? Colby
Yes,
did?
that's the one they took.
Well,
But
I don't know that we'd be opposed to it, especially if it's going to be more efficient for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But before we make a decision, I'd sure like to have, full board to hear it all.
yeah, and I'm still. It's kind of. I'm not done researching either, so
Okay?
just thought I'd let you know that's in the works. There are a few resolutions that I would really like to see the county kind of adopt. These are samples from other counties. Just lost my pen. One of them is for canceling out checks and warrants that are outstanding. This is a sample from Waubonsee County about how much, when you get checks that are 2-3 years old and you can't get a hold of the
If you
people,
ain't collected on them yet, you ain't got.
we really need a way to get them off the books so that we're not carrying them forever. And I think this is we've always kind of had a county, we haven't really a policy or procedure, but just how the county has handled it in the past is our checks say that they're valid only for what was 160 days, 180 days, 180 days. If they go past 6 months dormancy, we try to get a hold of them and try to get a reissued check or find out what's happened. If they go over a year, and we can't get it resolved, we usually write them off. But we really probably should have a resolution to do that. The payroll is the only thing that we would have to send into the state as uncollectible, outstanding
Okay.
funds.
Well,
But
has Leslie looked at any of this yet?
no, and I told her I had some and I was going to email them to her, but I just finally
Yeah.
just been kind of swamped since the beginning of the year. It's
know.
just like,
Us too. Okay, well,
But,
what's your other one?
then the other one is, that's the same one. Oh, a delinquent personal property. This one is from another county that they, after 20 years and certain dollar amounts and stuff, that they can get permission to write those off because most of the people aren't even either alive or they've been moved out of the county for so long that the property is probably not even here. It's just,
If they ain't paid in 20 years, they ain't going.
they're not going to. So,
I'll keep that in mind.
yeah. And it's just a way to try to keep your property taxes cleaned up. Actually, we're not having a whole big problem with property tax since we can put that on the mover system, the state motor vehicle system. We can put a stop on their vehicles if they live in Kansas. The ones we have problems with are out-of-state people. We don't have any control or any way to resource that. But yeah, we can put a stop on anybody who's a resident of Kansas, and they can't renew their vehicles until they pay it. So we have been keeping our tax, property tax,
And it's helped.
pretty clean. Oh yeah,
Good.
there's very, very little property taxes. But again, it's just something that trying
Needs
to get
cleaned up and-
cleaned up and
yeah.
needs to be done
And
probably.
I agree, the more clear things are, the better off we're going to be
Yes.
in the long run.
The other one is when we should have a resolution of when the last day of changes to taxes is allowed. I think Amanda, Scott, and I were going to try and get together this before this last season, and that just didn't happen either. So, but most counties have a resolution of when that is, so it's very clear to, like, especially your realtors and your abstract people who are working on sales and stuff, of when it's clear. I mean,
But
it's
it's
been
not now.
very frustrating because it's always been just varied because of how things are progressing within the county. So it's just like, well, I don't know where that's at, so we can't take. It just needs to be clear when it stops and when it can restart.
Let's get something standardized.
And that way, it has a time frame of when things need to get done. So,
Well, get with Leslie.
Yeah.
And get her opinion, maybe she can draft up the resolution.
and let's see, there was one more that I forgot. It just came up and I wanted to write it down. Forgot it. This is something else I'm going to need to visit with you about in the executive session if we can. But we need a clarification of, and I'm getting information back from all the state county treasurers, and I just haven't got enough data yet to put something together. But a clarification of when taxes are considered delinquent in the county.
So we don't have a clear-cut date when that happens now?
There's like 4 different options you could use. There's the date right after they're due, which they're considered by statute delinquent to collect interest. Most software programs do not consider them delinquent, though, until you have actually, the next step would be to send out the delinquent notices. That's another date that it could be considered delinquent. Another one would be when they're published. And the next one would be when warrants and county redemptions are ran. That's when the system actually takes them and classifies them as delinquent.
So what's the standard around the state?
Well, that's what I'm trying to get data from, and I haven't got enough to make that a very clear one. But we've got a situation that we're going to need to have that. I think it needs to be a clarification.
Well, there again, we're going to have to include the
And
county
Leslie
attorney
will
for
need to
sure.
be on that. And she's aware of this already. We've discussed it, so,
Okay. All right, well, it's all great things that we need to work on.
okay. I guess I'm ready to go into executive session if I could take, I have 3 different things to discuss with you, so probably take about 15 minutes.
Okay. All right, I'll make a motion, we'll go into 15 minutes of executive session for non-elected personnel,
Yeah, legal issue and
for legal issue and non-elected personnel.
separate thing, yeah, 2 separate things.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
So we'll take 15 minutes for that. Grab a drink of water.